Alright, welcome back to the shop. I went to the tractor show. I had a really good time. It was sort of a little rushed because it's about a 3-hour drive there, and then of course you walk around all day and then 3 hours back. So it was a long day, but I had a good time. I enjoyed meeting the I met A-Bomb. I met Mr. Pete. Was able to talk to him very briefly. I met Jim Bollinger. I had seen his channel and maybe watched 1 or 2 episodes before, but after meeting him, I went and watched his one of his episodes on brick pavers and stuff. Very informative, very instructional. I mean, just a great resource, especially if you're doing brick pavers. So I think I'm gonna watch a little bit more of Jim Bollinger's channel. I also met a couple guys. I believe it was Jerry and Mike, and I'll put a link to Who Buddy. And it looks to be a new channel, and they did a great job of putting together a nice little video on the ye old machine shop, and got some great footage of everybody, including me, which is a little embarrassing. But anyway, so I'm gonna put a screenshot of Who Buddy Done It, I believe is the name of it, and you can go over there and check out their Florida Flywheelers video. I think they did a good job putting that together. So this episode is going to be sort of a, just covering what I picked up at the show. I have been really in get rid of stuff mode, and it shows because all the work over there at my grandfather's shop. I guess what I'm trying to say is I walked around that entire Florida Flywheelers. Well, not the entire. I walked around for a couple hours there, and I didn't buy anything. You know, I've got a lot of stuff. I got a lot of projects, and I'm a little bit inundated. Not overwhelmed, but inundated at this point. And saturated with projects, so I wasn't really looking for too much, more just getting an idea of what's out there, what things are worth, and what they look like. But I did find this. I believe Scout Crafter may have done one of these corner vices before. I've seen them before on YouTube somewhere, and I just, if I had to hazard a guess, it would have been his channel. But anyway, I remember thinking, oh well, that's pretty neat. And I don't have one. That's just one of the vices that I don't have. I have, you know, I'm literally surrounded by vices. But this is a novel one, and this will be an upcoming project. But today's video, I think we're gonna take a step backwards, and we're gonna go work on that. I'm gonna take a step back and to our original plan, and that's to work on this light. And we're gonna do a Restomod with this, and I call it a Restomod because it will have an LED light, LED lights. One in the top, one in the bottom, and then we're just going to clean this all up. And just magically, it started. Both sides started working. So anyway, that's all good news. All right, let's get this thing broken down, and we'll get it cleaned up. All right, so I'm not exactly sure where I left off with this, but anyway, I'm trying to Restomod this light, and the issue that I'm having now is it seems to work well when I assemble it and I use an old incandescent bulb on top. That seems to work fine. However, when I try to upgrade it to the new LED bulb, it doesn't work. And what I suspect is happening here is that this bulb, this LED, this light emitting diode, you know, will only work in one direction. I can only get it to work when this base is positive. If I try to switch it around, well, thumbs here. Anyway, when I try to switch it around, I can't get it to work. It only works in one direction. So what I'm suspecting is happening is that this is backwards. That this outside section is positive and that inside section is negative. And I seem to think that that's true. Anyway, bear with me while I fiddle with this thing. If that inside is positive, it's showing me -6 volts, which means that this is backwards. I think I'm going to try to disassemble this and see if it makes any sort of difference. See if there's something I can change in here and flip-flop that around and get it to work. Alright, so there we are. Here's the on-off switch. It just rotates. All right, so this is just very interesting to me. So if you look at the terminals, I've got my positive out here and my negative out there. And when I broke this down, I realized that, you know, they're on the same terminal. So why in the world it should be, you know, the same? I've got one LED that will work and the other one that won't. So this LED will work in either direction. However, these other LEDs that I have, you know, will only work in one. So I don't know if I'll be able to find out why or how this LED can work on, you know, in either polarity. But right now, there's no way that I can go through and flip the polarities on this one. The best thing I could do is probably do some research and find a different bulb. And this bulb is the one that goes in the front lens, this housing here, and it is different in kind than the bulb that goes in the top. So this restoration is going to have to, you know, be a partial Restomod where I use an LED in the front, and then we'll have to find a bulb that will work in either different scenario, well, plus or minus. And I think the implications of this are probably only important to people that want to do LED lights in their dashboard of their car. I've, you know, heard stories about people putting LEDs in, and this was the case in my Chevy, where I put the LEDs in, they'll fit either way. It was a square fitting, and if you put them in upside down or backwards, they will not work because they, you know, have to be, they're polarized or whatever. So I'm gonna, you know, work on polishing this up. I guess that means I don't need to reassemble it right now. And I'll take you over and we'll do some time lapse and get this cleaned up and bring you back when I have this all cleaned up and whatever I've decided to do to it. So I've disassembled this whole light and then taken the lens out of here, gotten everything disconnected. I'm a little bit unsure what to do with this, the off top front. I would be unable to recreate that. I'm thinking I might try to tape that off, and then I'm going to media blast this whole thing. Alright, in the comments, right, what color do you think I'm going to paint this right now? Pause it. See if you guess if you can read my mind before I know what I'm thinking. So, alright, I'm going to polish these bezels and just do that with the wire wheel, maybe the fiber wheel. That should clean up alright. And I'm going to paint this. So, we'll see how that works out. Alright, so there's my little light. Just the front. It's pretty bright. It's, you know, it's really hard to give you an idea of how bright everything is. And that works pretty good. Alright, Clay, you can turn the lights back on. Thank you. Alright, so I like the paint scheme, but what I've done is sort of shortcutted things, and this needs another coat of paint. But for the purposes of this video, you know, this channel is not about painting. It's not a how-to or anything like that. I just wanted to show you that, you know, with a little bit more paint, there's some imperfections here, and you can see that the paint could be a little bit better here. So this needs another coat of paint. But for, you know, educational purposes, what I want to, I think the takeaway from this is going back to the light bulbs. This is a negative center. All these lantern batteries, the center pole is negative. The issue with the light bulb that I have in the front that worked on either polarity, this is a Cree bulb, the C-R-E-E. And apparently this is not polarized or non-polarity determinant. You know, as I showed before, it will work either positive to negative or negative to positive. In this particular light, what happens, and which you saw, hopefully, if this editing comes out all right, is that when I use the multimeter, what we saw is that the outside section is positive, and the inside, the center of this, of course, lines up with the negative here. So when you're purchasing LED bulbs, there's certain, and I'll put a notation, I'll find a schematic or we'll find a description of what to look for. So if you go out and spend a bunch of money on LED bulbs, it better be the right orientation, or else you're going to have this problem that I had, where I bought bulbs, spent $10 on bulbs, and couldn't get it to work. And I don't mean to make excuses, but I'm going to. What I had done is tried to find a solution to get both, so that I could use an LED bulb up here. And I tried to figure out how to switch polarities. And what I had found was another light, or battery adapter. I'll put a picture of that up now. And I could have taken that adapter and put 4 D batteries in it and got something that was shaped like this 6-volt battery, put out 6 volts, and I could have switched the polarities and had both lights be LED, and that would have been fine. However, that would have cost me $10. On top of the $10 that I already spent on the Cree bulb that goes in the front of this, and on top of the other $10 that I spent on this thing, and at some point you have to cut your losses. This is not my favorite light. This is not something I'll use all the time, I don't think. I use, these lights with the big magnets on them are great. I have a pile of these, all different shapes and sizes, and they, and this is just, I've got many more of them laying around. As a matter of fact, some of the best lights that I've seen of recent are $1 a piece. These are insanely good lights with a magnet on it for $1. This is what I'll use because I can stick it in my pocket, and it's far brighter than this. So this is more just a wall hanger than anything. So I chose to sort of cheap out on this project and not spend the extra $10 on the thing, going through all the motions just to have a light that I'm going to hang on my wall. So, and that happens in projects. You have to cut your losses at some point. Maybe later on, if I find something cheaper, I'll go through the motions. But for just goofing around in the shop, for having fun, I think this was a neat little project, a quick project, or I mean, in terms of cleaning it up with the Media Blaster. But then, the takeaway is that with LEDs, it could be a little problematic at times determining what LED you actually need. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and end the video, and I'd like to say thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and as always, I appreciate your comments. So thanks, and have a good night.